2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
How can I stay positive when there's so much negativity?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, this is going to be a good one today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It was good to see the family. We saw pretty much both sides of the family over the weekend. And
we got a big family.
It's a really big family, and it's weird when you bring both sides together the way that it was, because it was like you could kind of see different sections in every room of Lindsay's house. Lindsay's our sister. She was the one housing the party for our parents who just came home from an LDS church mission, and
it does make me laugh. We have a party to all get together, and then everyone breaks up in their own little families in the corners. I try to mix in, I try to make my rounds a little bit, but
try to at least say hi to everybody. I don't think I did. I think I missed people, so I apologize to any family members that I missed yesterday. But we do love our family. We love the support, and I know Mom and Dad really, it meant a lot to them to get all of that support too. So.
Well, and you get to bounce around and eat all the Mormon food. So, so that's what it's all about. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, we have a good guest here today. We have Dr. Paul Jenkins here. Dr. Paul is somebody, when in life, when we talk a lot about principles of recovery, you're always looking for someone who's been there before, somebody who's a mentor. And then you also, in the 12 steps, you're also looking for a way to reach back and help the next person who's coming behind you. And on our show, we spend a lot of time trying to help the next person up. But today we kind of have the gift of Brannon and I actually look up to Dr. Paul, and he's one who's pulling us up in certain ways. So, Dr. Paul, thank you for being here. We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
Oh, honored to be here. And this is payback, because you guys showed up on my mic back in October, and we talked about recovery and addiction and what some of the principles are behind that. So I feel like I owe you one, guys.
Well, we're glad you're here. So, all right.
To be here.
So, Paul, I'm just going to ask you the question that I asked. How do you practice positivity when there's so much negativity out there? I know that's a big question.
It is, and it's an excellent question, because we hear this word all the time, right? Positivity. And sometimes it gets thrown around by people who don't even know what it is. And it can be this trite, fluffy, just think positive that you hear from motivational speakers or gurus on the stage. I think it's important for us to get past that trite, fluffy version into the psychology behind it, because that's how we answer the question. How do we stay positive when there's so much negativity all around us? That's a really great question. In fact, that's why I'm here today. I think we get into the psychology behind it.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea. I was just, as you're talking and thinking, that this whole idea of, people hear different things, like you've heard of The Secret or other things, and maybe we'll touch on some of those things. I actually want to get into those underpinnings. I had an experience with just one of my nephews yesterday. He was in the car and we were talking, and somehow it came up that his favorite drink happened to be Mountain Dew of all things. And his dad rolled his eyes like, no, you can never drink Mountain Dew. And he didn't know this, but an hour before on our way down, my daughter had bought 2 bottles of Mountain Dew and only drank 1. And so I was like, hey, guess what? This is called the law of attraction, where you just say the words and they'll look under your seat. What's there? And he reached under and pulled out this Mountain Dew. And he's like, whoa, this is I just thought this into being, and I know it doesn't really work that way, but maybe we do get into some of the ways that the body and the brain and us as human beings actually do function based off of the way that we choose to see the world.
I love that my job is to illuminate the obvious, which is really cool. I get paid to tell people things they already know. But there's obvious things that are completely unnoticed until they're called to your attention. So if we were to start there, let's just go there for a minute. Obvious but unnoticed, like your shirt. Can you feel it? Well, now.
Yeah.
Now you can.
Now you're thinking about it.
Now that I've called it to your attention. See, it's obvious, but it's unnoticed until it's called to your attention. Or the fact that we're speaking English. Anybody notice?
Oh, yeah, wow. How unconscious am I?
It's obvious.
Yeah, it's
right, but unnoticed until it's called to your attention, because our brain is an efficiency organ. And it's really important. Our brain has 2 main jobs: to keep us safe and to prove us right. And both of those get in our way all the time. You guys know this because you're therapists. When you start to become aware of the processes that are going on in your mind all the time, they're obvious, okay, but unnoticed until they're called to your attention. So that's my job, is to illuminate what's going on. Now, what you do with it is totally up to you. I am not here to tell you how to think. I don't have that kind of authority.
Right.
But I want you to see that you are thinking. And once you see the processes that are going on in your mind, you become aware of them. And once you become aware of them, you're in a position of choice. So one of those processes I'm actually demonstrating to you right now, it's called metacognition. And metacognition is a fancy psychobabble BS word, but we make up words in psychology. It makes us feel smart. And this is one of them. Right? Yeah. But metacognition, if you break it down, cognition just means thinking. Metacognition is a higher level. It's thinking about thinking. And do you notice in this moment that you can do that? So this is really important, because metacognition creates a space. And in that space is where choice exists. Until you see it as a choice, it's not. And you'll just roll with whatever your programming is. And programming is pretty powerful. Yeah. You guys are talking about a family get together. Yeah, you've been programmed, haven't you?
A little bit.
Yeah. There's definitely been some programming there. It's interesting, and I'm sure you'll get into this with us a little bit when you say, okay, so I think everybody who's listening right now can probably say, okay, I am aware now that I can think about what I'm thinking about. Mm-hmm. But that's not something that is readily cultivated. Like, all of us kind of default back to that sort of default autopilot setting of almost taking for granted the fact that we're thinking beings. And I guess I'm wondering, like, how do you strengthen, what is it? Is it a habit? Is it a skill? Is it a way of being? How do you strengthen the way of being in metacognition?
I love that you mentioned a couple of words here. Habit. I said programming earlier because programming catches that subconscious flavor of it. We're not even aware of it. It's like the English thing. Okay, here we are speaking English, and we're really good at it. English is not an easy language. But to us, it comes pretty naturally. Why? Because of our programming. And we were programmed by people who didn't even give us a choice. So I also speak Finnish. Mutta jos minä puhun teille suomeksi, te ette ymmärrä sitä.
I've never heard Finnish.
Me neither.
Well, now you have, but it doesn't help because you don't have the programming for that. No. Now you can learn another language, as I just demonstrated. You can learn another language. That requires choice and reprogramming. And so when we get into elements of how our mind works, it's very, very similar. So you'll see some things even today as I show. There's two processes I want to call to your attention that are going on all the time in your mind. And you'll see them. And you've already been programmed on how those run from day to day in your life. So Tyler, getting back to what you were saying earlier, either you run your thoughts or your thoughts run you. And without a conscious awareness, your thoughts will run you. You'll default to your programming. It's what we do as humans. That's part of the efficiency thing, because our brain wants to keep us alive and keep us safe. So it has to do the most efficient thing to try to conserve energy. And your programming is the most efficient.
But are you saying that, like, okay, if we start to become aware of our programming, then we have some kind of choice about what we want to like follow and go with and what we don't?
Absolutely. And until you see it as a choice, it's not. Okay, because you'll default to the programming. But it's a choice, just like it's a choice to learn Finnish or Spanish or Swahili. The choice is necessary, but it's not sufficient. If you really want to reprogram, it's going to take some reps, because getting back to, I think one of the words you said was habit, Tyler, but it's a skill as well. I think you mentioned that too. It's a skill set. It can be learned. It can be trained. And we're working against our programming, because even though I'm fluent in Finnish, it's still easier to speak English.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, Dr. Paul, just when you said that, I'm just going to kind of share my own internal experience when you said that. So, okay, so now I become aware of this pattern of thinking that I'm having. And then there's this choice. And then you said, like, the choice to learn Finnish or Swahili or whatever. The minute you said those things, something in my body sort of tightened up and cringed, like, but I don't really want to put in all that would be a ton of work. Like, that's right. That's going to be a lot of pain and discomfort to actually learn Swahili.
Your brain's trying to keep you safe.
So it feels threatening to consider that there would be a new choice that would lead me into the effort to learn that new skill or improve my life in some way.
Yes. Your brain's just trying to conserve energy for you. It's doing what it's designed to do.
But it's kind of crazy, because some of the programming causes us, like, things that aren't great that we create.
Right.
But then our brain, just like what Tyler was saying, like, so doesn't want to go through the process of relearning something that we'll stay stuck in the same programming that's creating something that we don't even want, as opposed to actually do the work, to do the repetitions to actually shift our thinking, right?
Yes, this is why therapists have jobs. And the most common lament I've heard in my practice over 30 years now: why do I do what I do when I know what I know? Right? Well, this is why, because your programming kicks in. And I'm not going to lie to people and say, hey, this is easy. No, it's simple. Simple and easy are not the same thing. And if you want easy, I'm going to have to refer you to somebody else. If you want something that works, then listen up, because this works. And getting back to, I mentioned there are two processes. Okay, so we talk all the time about how it's your thinking, right? One of my colleagues says any problem we encounter is a problem with thinking. And I challenged him a little bit. I said, oh, yeah, okay. So last year, my son was diagnosed with stage 3B sarcoma.
Wow.
We went through this whole cancer journey, and thankfully, we're on the other side of that now. It looks like we won. Nice. But there was some collateral damage along the way. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty brutal. It's earned its reputation. So what about that? How is that a problem with thinking? Well, thinking that cancer is a problem is the problem. Did you follow that? It's kind of like Captain Jack Sparrow.
The thought that cancer is a problem is what increases the suffering around having cancer.
Yes. And all of the mental gymnastics that we do, and the narratives and the stories that we create about it, because these circumstances are neutral. In fact, this is where we'll start with the model. And when I'm presenting this, I've got a visual model, okay, that I present to my audiences when I'm giving a keynote or a training. And I know some of you are like, oh, it's an audio podcast. Yeah, I've got you covered, okay? In fact, we'll put this in the show notes too, but drpauljenkins.com, drpauljenkins.com/therapy bros. Can you remember that, everybody? Okay, that will get you a free digital download of my mini book, Portable Positivity, where I go step by step through this model. You get all the visuals in full color. So nice. I've got you covered. Awesome. But let me explain what these processes are. And it starts with an assumption. It is what it is. Okay, is that annoying to anybody else? Probably depends on who's saying it and why. But all it means is the way things are in your life right now. And it might be that you have a diagnosis of stage 3B sarcoma, like my son did. It might be like for me a couple of years ago, bankruptcy. It might be that you just got married. It might be that you won the lottery. It might be that the sun came up and birds were singing. Whatever it is what it is.
Well, Paul, can I add just one thing? Because we work a lot with betrayal. And, if I were to say to someone first session and they just got betrayed, like, it is what it is. That usually wouldn't go over too well. But
it would get you fired probably.
but it doesn't change how true that is. It doesn't change the reality that it is what it is.
Right?
Yes. It's invalidating to their programming and their pain that they're in. It's invalidating to that, but it still is what it is.
Well, and that's an interesting way to put that, Brannon. I'm really familiar with this whole concept of validation. I've been in the industry now for 30 years. And did you remember our brain's job? Keep us safe and to prove us right.
Yeah.
Right? And that validation is all about being proven right. And I want to just go on record right now saying you are always right about how you feel. You are always right about how you feel, and I'll show you why in just a minute as we get into the model, okay? You are always right about that. Now, what we just started with, it is what it is something I get fired for too, okay? Circumstances are neutral.
Yes.
And when I say that they're neutral, I do not mean that they are easy or painless. Sometimes they're extremely difficult and painful. But what I mean is, what it is could always be worse or better. Now, wrap your head around this for a minute. Is that true? Let's make sure the assumption's true before we move forward. Is that true that no matter how bad things seem, it could always be
worse?
Yeah,
or no matter how good things are, it could always be better. Yeah. Okay, now when people are not in pain, they can see this. If they're in pain, they're like, this is the worst thing. No, it's not. It could always be worse. And to use an extreme example, what about, do you remember September 11th, 2001?
Oh, yeah.
And even people who weren't around have heard about it because it made all the history books, right? Terrorists, thousands of people killed on that morning in September. How could it possibly be worse than that?
Do you want me to answer?
You got an answer?
Well, I mean, that plane went down in the field. It didn't hit the White House. You know, they could have done a lot more destruction.
Yes. And that's usually the first example that people think of. At least it wasn't worse, right?
Yeah.
And they feel relieved that that one plane went down in a field in Pennsylvania. So some people were killed in that, but it didn't crash into a big shopping center or, Times Square or something like that. So this is an extreme example, but it just helps us to see that it could always be worse. It could always be better. Now, this is relevant because there are two processes we're going to talk about real quick, and you can't turn these off. Your brain is constantly doing them. And you'll hear people talking all the time about what you think is important, right? Because even though our circumstances are neutral, our narratives, our stories about them are not. And we believe at some fundamental level that our circumstances are extraordinary. Mine are special. I believed this when I went through a bankruptcy. I was like, oh, this shouldn't happen to me. Right? So notice this for a minute. We are constantly judging. Now, that's kind of a judgy word. So I'm going to use the word evaluation. And that's the one that you'll see in the model. Evaluation is something your brain can't turn off. And it's because your brain has the job to keep you safe. It has to be monitoring and judging and evaluating things constantly in order to keep you safe. So your brain is constantly taking your circumstances and asking, is this good? Is this bad? I don't know. I'll check. Now, to check, the word evaluation implies comparison with some standard. In other words, compared to what? Right? When I give my keynotes, I sometimes ask the audience, am I a tall man? And they're like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Right? And then I show them a picture of me. This is in the mini book, by the way, of me standing next to Mark Eaton, who used to play center for the Utah Jazz. The dude is 7'4".
I love Mark Eaton.
Love this guy. And we miss him. He passed away a few years ago. But next to Big Mark, I look like a shrimp. I'm 6'2". And next to most people, I look pretty tall. And so when I ask the question, am I a tall man? That's an evaluation question. It's just like saying, is this a bad circumstance? Compared to what? Now, we already established it could always be better. It could always be worse. Check this out. When I take my circumstance, and so I'll use my personal example, a bankruptcy. Chapter 1 in my book, Pathological Positivity, is titled Lightning Strikes. And it's the story about when I went through this bankruptcy. And you've all experienced it, right? You're going through life, you expect it to go a certain way, and then boom, you're just zapped by a thunderous bolt of lightning. And it might be a diagnosis, it might be a financial condition, a relationship issue, whatever it is, betrayal, trauma. It happens. fact, we ought to make a bumper sticker that says it happens. I don't know. Maybe there already is one. So you see where I'm going with this, right? When I ask, is this good? Is this bad? And I compare it to something better, what will be my conclusion?
It's bad.
This is bad. And it is, compared to something better, because I was taking my bankruptcy and I'm thinking, oh, this is bad. Compared to what? Well, compared to not going through a bankruptcy. And that's where my brain went. And I'm like, oh, this is bad. At about that time, you guys, Vicki and I, my wife and I, were asked to be volunteer leaders for a pioneer trek for a group of young people in our church who were reenacting the early pioneer movements to the West, right? And they asked us to be leaders for that. Well, during that time, I was researching some of my own ancestry, and I discovered that one of my ancestor families was in the Willie Handcart Company. And you're both nodding because you know the history around the Willie Handcart Company, a very ill-fated company. Most of them died before they got to the Salt Lake Valley. And this family of mine had left too late in the season to come earlier with some of the earlier companies. They got into the Willie Company with their 7 children, the youngest of whom was born on the boat on the way over from England. And so here they are in the high plains of Wyoming, and every morning they're burying half of their people. I may be exaggerating that a little, but only a little. Okay, and I'm thinking, bankruptcy? I know where my kids are sleeping tonight. I know that we'll have something to eat. And I'm thinking, compared to what those early pioneers went through, this is a cakewalk.
Yeah.
So is it good or is it bad? Well, it depends on what you compare it to. Okay, I'm just going to pause there and just see how that's landing.
Okay, so I was just looking at your model as you were holding it up. That seems to be, and maybe you want to wait for me to reference this, but if I'm trying to follow it, there's this thing that's happening. I have this evaluation.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And if I choose to think, oh, this is terrible, this is horrible, then I'm going one way, and that's going to actually, if we're talking about the workings of the mind and the body, I'm going to experience more pain and suffering simply because of the story that I attributed to it as a negative thing compared to whatever else it is.
When I compare what it is to something better, I feel worse. That creates a negative energy, right?
Yes.
When I compare what it is to something worse, I feel better about what I've got.
That's right.
That creates the energy around what we're going to do next. And I'll lead right into that for you.
Great. Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It makes a ton of sense to me. And this comes back to what you were talking about earlier about the metacognition, is that we have to pause and place ourselves in a state of metacognition just to get to that first step of what is the story that I'm telling myself about it is what it is.
That's where metacognition comes in handy.
Yeah.
Yes, because then we become aware of those stories. Once we see them as stories, then we're in a position of choice. See, metacognition creates a space. In that space is where our choice exists. And without the choice, we default to our programming.
Yep.
It's really easy to think that a bankruptcy is bad.
Well, and the default is almost always negative because we're built to protect ourselves. That's what our brain's doing, right? Make ourselves right and protect ourselves. So that the default is negative unless we have the metacognition to pause and say, I'm the one inserting the default story.
Right. And once we see our role in that, then we're in position to choose.
Yeah.
But until that, we just roll with it. Brannon, you were about to say something.
So much. Just, where do I begin? I think suffering comes from resistance to what is. And we avoid suffering through acceptance. So we got to first get to a neutral state so that we can accept when we're labeling it as good or bad. And then what you just said, I think, is very important and a lot of people don't understand it, is that there is a space, there's opportunity for us. There's so many people that just stay unconscious. They just keep doing what they're doing. They stay in a state of negativity again and again, and don't even really just like you say, wearing my shirt, they don't even realize they're doing it. They're just in it. Right. And so you've created this life hack to this powerful thing to be able to say, hey, I'm getting conscious and now I know what to do. I'm going to know what to do with this. So let's keep going.
Well, and while you're mentioning hacks, I thought this morning as I was coming to visit with you guys, I want to give you a couple of very specific hacks. And before we move on to the next process, while we're on evaluation, first of all, just see that you're doing it. Okay? We're constantly judging. You judge yourself, judge your spouse, your kids, your community. You judge the government, the economy. You judge the weather. You're judging me. It's cool. I'm judging you. So, I mean, we can't turn it off.
Dr. Paul, when you see you're doing it, is that like curiosity? Like, oh, I'm judging the weather. Oh, I'm judging Paul.
Notice it.
Interesting. Yeah. I can see that I'm doing that.
And it's okay. It's what your brain's designed to do. All right? So we're kind of judgy. That's all right. It's who we are. It's how we're designed. And as you see that you're judging, it puts you into a position of choice. Remember, metacognition creates a space. In that space is where choice exists. So here's the hack. Take whatever it is. Is it cancer? Is it bankruptcy? Is it a divorce? Is it trauma? Is it betrayal? What is it? You take whatever you've been judging and do what I call 25-5. Okay, you ready? Write these numbers down. 25-5. This is a gratitude exercise. Now, we've all done gratitude lists, but most of the time when people do gratitude lists, they wimp out and they pick all the easy stuff, like family and health and puppies and rainbows and indoor plumbing. Anybody can be grateful for that. Okay, here's the hack. Ask your powerful mind to give you a list of 25 things that you're grateful for about the hard thing. From it, because of it. Okay, and just to give you an example, what is there to be grateful for in cancer? I told you we went through a cancer journey with my son. He got 5 of my grandkids out in Chicago. The youngest was born 2 weeks before chemo.
Jeez.
All right, just to give you the context. So what could I be grateful for about that? Now, most of the time, when we say, what is there to be grateful for in this? It's not a question. It's a statement disguised as a question. What is there to be grateful for in this? Do you hear the exclamation point?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, watch your punctuation. You put a question back on there. What is there to be grateful for in this? It's a serious question. And if you'll ask your powerful mind to go there, it will. And I found in that cancer an opportunity to connect with my 5 grandkids, my son and his wife, every couple of weeks for the last year and a half. Am I grateful for that? Yeah. No, I'm not saying be grateful for the cancer. I'm saying open it up, look inside of it, rummage around in there until you find something you are grateful for. Make a list. 25 items, 5 days in a row. This is not easy. But again, if you want the easy thing, I'll have to refer you to somebody else. If you want what works, ask your brain to do this. And I usually give you about 10 freebies. Okay, you can have 10 family, puppies, rainbows on your daily list because you don't repeat anything on tomorrow's list that was on today's list. Stretch.
Wow.
This is a powerful hack. I've seen this save lives. Because what it does is it changes your position, also known as attitude, right? My son's a pilot. He taught me that attitude is an aviation term. It means position of the plane relative to the ground or the horizon. And a nose down attitude is going to head into the hard stuff. So you're asking your brain to handle this differently. Is this good? Is this bad? You've been saying it's bad. Well, sure it is compared to something better. What if we compare it to something worse? And the quickest way I know to get there is to ask, what am I grateful for in this? Because I'm looking at the last year and I'm thinking it would have been worse if I hadn't had regular contact with my kids out there in Chicago. I'm grateful for it. And I'm not making that up. I really am grateful for that. Okay, you got it?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm having almost an opposite internal experience as I did earlier when you mentioned learning a new language. It's like I'm sitting there putting myself in your shoes and going, I imagine I'd probably recalibrate my values. I would come to know myself more fully. I'd probably be driven into a bigger wrestle with my faith, all this stuff. I'm already listing out for you what I would be in if I was you. And I'm already starting, my heart's starting to feel more open. Everything's starting to open up. Even though the challenge of 25 and 5, that's 125 things about this particular scenario, that will be as hard as learning a new language to do that.
It's not easy. Your brain wants to go default.
But it's powerful. I can physically feel my own body changing just at the prospect of doing the exercise.
Yeah, and it's funny that some of the resistance is we want to prove ourselves right too. Okay, so our brain is trying to keep us safe and to prove us right. And if you've already concluded this is bad, your brain is working overtime to prove you right about that.
Yep.
And just my saying that it's neutral will probably offend you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
okay,
why I
so
get fired for this.
This is excellent. I think this is an excellent takeaway for both Brannon and I, but also for our listeners to be able to go and say, this is something that I could tangibly put into practice today with whatever I'm in right now. Yeah.
So can I give you that other process too? And I've got a brain hack for that too. So once we realize that we're constantly judging, there's something else that our brain is always doing. You can't turn this off any more than you can turn off evaluation or gravity for that matter. How often do you get up and think, I wonder if gravity's on today? These are principles that are always on. And the other thing we can't turn off is called creation. I believe that we are divinely designed as creators. Humans are creators. And now we're talking about what is to be. And that doesn't exist yet. We haven't created it yet. But guess what we're going to create it from? What it is, right? So whatever is the current circumstance is exactly the starting place for whatever we're going to create. And to understand how our brain does it, I do full day trainings on creation, and there's 6 specific steps that we go through when we create anything. That's not the purpose of today's conversation. What I invite you to see is that you are constantly creating. And, well, let's just demonstrate that. What if I gave you an opportunity to just practice your creative power? If I said, okay, let's take 15 minutes. 15 minutes, I'll time you. Use your brain to somehow come up with and carry out something in 15 minutes that would make your life worse. You're chuckling. Why?
Oh, I'm just thinking about the snack cabinet right outside my office right now. I could just binge on that for 15 minutes and it would make my life worse.
Oh, yeah, you could. Brannon came up with something a little more dramatic than that, maybe.
I was just thinking I could start a fight with my wife.
You absolutely could, and you know exactly how, don't you?
Oh, I know how to do that.
You could drive into oncoming traffic. You could rob a bank. You could abuse a child. There are so many ways to make your life worse. And notice that the only thing that stands between you and that is your choice. Now, here's another thing that I think is important to acknowledge. We don't know what's coming, right? I mean, think about it. How you doing next week? You don't know.
Yeah.
But you've got some ideas, you've got guesses, you've got predictions. So what happens when we imagine or predict or expect or anticipate that what's coming is even worse than what we already have? How do we feel?
Anxiety and dread.
Yeah. And you just nailed it, Brannon. Anxiety. This is 30 years of clinical experience in a nutshell. Okay. This is how anxiety is defined. When we imagine that what's coming is worse than what we already have. And our brain's job is to keep us safe and to prove us right. And so it kicks us into what's called the fight or flight mode. There's neurochemistry that gets involved there to try to protect us to avoid that bad thing that's coming, even though we don't know that it's coming. Like I mentioned cancer earlier, okay? When people are diagnosed with cancer, they get, one of the common stories is, I'm going to die. Hello? Spoiler alert, nobody gets out of this alive. We are all going to die. So nothing just changed. Except most people don't go around predicting that it's going to happen soon. Right? And those who do, whether they've got a diagnosis or not, feel anxiety, fear, apprehension. Okay, so what happens if we imagine or predict or expect that what's coming is even better than what we've already got? How do we feel?
We look forward to it.
Excited.
Yeah. And you guys, I define this one as hope, which is the number one preventative factor for suicide. We know this because the number one risk factor is hopelessness, right? And I've just shown you how to generate hope on demand. Since you don't know what's coming, I invite you to see that you are predicting something and that your prediction is a choice. Once you see it as a choice, it becomes a choice. And why not choose something that serves us better? So I've got a brain hack for that one too. Okay.
I love it. Yeah. Let's hear it.
And did you want to comment about that before I give you the hack?
I have a
Tyler?
thought, but I'll share it after the hack. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So here's the brain hack. I gave you the 25-5. That's the evaluation brain hack. Okay. So the creation brain hack is this. I want you to picture 8 o'clock. All right. How sure are you that 8 o'clock is coming?
Positive.
Sure. Yeah.
Pretty darn? Okay. Yeah, me too. How sure are you that you'll be around for 8 o'clock?
No, pretty likely.
And this is where people hedge a little bit.
I'm pretty sure.
Dude, you have 100% track record. You've made it to every 8 o'clock so far your whole life. And there's 2 every day for those of you who don't get up early. So probably you're going to be around for 8 o'clock. There's only 2 possibilities. I used to think there were 3. I eliminated the third one because I don't think it's possible for things to be exactly the same at 8 o'clock as they are right now. Is that true? At the very least, you're going to be a few hours older, right? Yes. You might be more hungry, more tired. It depends on what you did just before 8. So it's not going to be exactly the same. By your own evaluation or judgment, which we already decided you can't turn off, by your own judgment, things have to be then either better or worse by your own judgment. You still okay on the logic?
Yep.
We already know that you could make things worse. Okay, please don't go offend your wife, Brannon. Or, I mean, it's up to you. I'm not here to tell you what to do, right? But you know you could make things worse. What if you were to ask yourself right now, what could I do? What little thing or big thing? It's up to you. You're the creator. What thing could I do to make things better by 8? And I'm not talking next week, next month, or next year.
Right.
8 o'clock. There was a little droid on Star Wars named BB-8. Yeah, BB-8. Better by 8. That's the hack.
Oh, I like
BB-8.
it.
And notice, what is your brain doing as I invite you to consider, what could I do to make my life, my finances, my relationship, my health, whatever, you pick. You're the creator. What could I do to make it better by 8? What is your brain doing?
My mind actually instantly started to go to multiple places, but specific things like, hey, if you get 5 minutes, call your daughter and tell her you love her. And you know what? You could pour your heart into your next appointment with this client that's coming in, that you know their situation, and you'd feel better about yourself by the end of it. And it's almost like the impression, the brain is out there looking, almost like probing for the things that are specific that would make it better by 8.
Yes.
Yep.
Brannon, same thing?
I mean, I just thinking about just being kind, because the example with my wife, being kind, just being patient, telling her how beautiful she is, I'm just thinking about those positive things.
That's at 8 o'clock, you guys. This isn't next week, next month, or next year. It's 8 o'clock. And that changes something for us. It brings the creative power that we all have and we can't turn off to the here and the now. And you know you could do it. And notice the emotional energy that follows.
We just did it.
Yes.
We're doing it. Yes, I love it.
And you feel it, don't you?
Yeah.
See, this is the hope. I've labeled that hope. When you look at the visual model, there's some red arrows and some green arrows. And again, for those of you who don't have the visuals, please just go grab the mini book, drpauljenkins.com/therapy bros. Okay, we'll take you right there. You get a free download of my mini book and you'll get the visuals there. Okay, these red arrows, this is depression. When we do a negative evaluation of our life. Anxiety is when we do a negative prediction in creation mode.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have gratitude and peace when we do a positive evaluation, and we get hope when we do a positive creation. This is what I call the positivity vector, the peace and hope that is available by choice when you know how to operate the equipment. And remember, let's go back to the beginning real quick too, because you've got programming, right? It's going to take some work. Tyler, you were like, I'm out. That sounds too hard. Well, our brain's trying to keep us safe, right? And I'm not going to lie to you and say this is easy. I'm saying it's simple. And simple and easy are not the same thing. It's like learning a language or a musical instrument. Whatever you are already programmed to do will be your default. And so I invite you to just have a lot of grace and forgiveness and compassion for yourself and everyone else who's learning this. You can get really good at it. Okay, I'm a black belt now in positivity.
I love it.
And it comes off of you in your energy, Dr. Paul. And even as you're talking, there's a couple of thoughts that have been going through my head. One is just thinking about Brannon and I's grandfather, who was one of the most optimistic people that we know. And when you really look into his life, you just put language to the life he set out to live, which was, he struggled with depression. He was deaf. He lost his hearing when he was young. And yet he spent his whole life in the older age creating what he called the optimist creed. And he got to where he memorized it. It was these statements of how he was going to live his life every day. And it's right in line with what you did is you just put a model to what he was doing with his life. And I'm thinking about something in our programming, we do something called the visualization affirmation, and we have people create a statement of their ideal life and perfect day, and then we have them record it to some kind of meaningful music to help get the emotion up with it. And you just basically gave the model of what was behind the assignment without us being able to put it to such simple language. And what a gift today for you to come and bring this and to share these things.
You can tell I get excited about this.
Yeah, and you should. I hope our listeners are getting excited about this, because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that energy of, okay, there will be work. And I love what you said. It's the engagement with the process of developing this that's just as important as what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So there can be self-compassion, there can be practice, there can be failure, there can be depression. And when you notice it, you can get back to these skills. Even just these 2 hacks alone would change the whole cycle.
These hacks are simple little things that you can do on a daily basis. Check it out. If you do the Better by 8, the BB8, for the same 5 days that you're doing the gratitude power up, you get to have 10 upgrades to your life, because there's 2 8 o'clocks every day. And it's doable. And what happens is, just like when you're learning a language, if you can get in a room with a skilled teacher that gives you some vocabulary and shows you how to use it, and you start to see that, hey, maybe this is possible, then with repetition and practice, you can reprogram your brain. And the research bears this out. This is programmable. And it's just like learning a language. So don't get discouraged when it gets hard. Sometimes my clients come to me and they're like, this is hard. Why is it so hard? I know it's important to be positive, but I just keep doing what I used to do. And I'm like, yeah. Good news. If it's hard, you're going the right direction. Right? Mm-hmm. If you leave your car on a hill and take off the brake, which way does it roll? Down. Elevation requires effort. Okay. Light requires power. Don't be surprised when it takes a little effort, but you will see the results, and you'll see it immediately as you do those 2 hacks. Promise.
Oh, Paul, I want to do like a 3-day training with you. The 1 hour on a podcast is scratching the surface. Feels like.
Well, Brandon, I do a 3-day. We'll have to talk.
I need to come. Yeah. I just want to say I'm grateful you went bankrupt.
Me too. Me too.
Now you're teaching all these lessons, right? And just just want to, what you're saying is absolutely the truth. I've experienced it in my own life. One obvious example of it was COVID. People took that all different ways, but the people that got depressed and anxious, and it was the most negative thing ever. And if you approach that from a negative or from a neutral standpoint, it just was what it was. And then you got to choose how you responded to it. And so anyways, I could give all kinds of examples. We are powerful creators. We have so much power inside of us, and we're not victims to life. We get to create. And it comes down to Viktor Frankl's, famous quote of, they can take anything from us, but they can't take away our power to choose. And that's what he's talking about. It's internal, it's inside of us. And Dr. Paul has broken it down into such a awesome system here. So I just really appreciate you, Dr. Paul, and I want more of this.
Yeah, so. Dr. Paul, would you just throw a shout out for how people can find you and get more of you if they'd like?
I would say start with downloading that free mini book, because that will give you the model that we've talked about here today. So once again, that's drpauljenkins.com/therapybros. It's a special link just for you as listeners of this podcast, and to Tyler and Brannon and good work that they're doing. I'd say start there. I'm also all over YouTube, and you can go to my main website if you like, drpauljenkins.com, although the fun stuff is happening kind of behind the scenes. So go download the mini book, then we'll be connected. I will be letting everyone who gets a copy of this know how else they can be involved with me. You mentioned a 3-day, Brannon. I happen to have a 3-day coming up in February.
Nice.
To certify positivity practitioners, people who want to take this to the practitioner level. And we're having some really neat experiences with that too. And so
I'll have to get more info on that.
Once you're in the loop, you get informed. So you grab the mini book. That'll be a good place for anybody to start.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Paul, for your time, for your energy. I feel like we were richly fed today, and I hope that our listeners can feel as much of the truth coming through them as just the ideas that were shared. And for those of you guys who are listening right now and found this to be meaningful, please share it with the people in your life that matter to you, because this literally has life-saving implications for the people that we love. And we appreciate you guys being here with us. Until next time, keep on keeping on.